Hey Kai, welcome.
Yo.
This is episode 1 of our interviews we're going to start doing, and I wanted to have a special guest all the way from Australia. What parts are you from over there?
um, Gympie, which no one would have heard of. So
Mhm,
probably the easiest thing to say is Brisbane, where the airport is in
mhm.
Queensland. It's like 2 hours from there. So we're kind of in a small little country town. So
Right.
yeah,
And you used to live in Sunshine Coast. Like that
Sunshine
sounded beautiful.
Coast.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's like near the beach. That's like an hour from Brisbane as well. So it's a bit further out, but it's not too far. So
Right. Well, I'm excited to have you guys hear from Kai. We met a little under a year ago. We spoke to each other, or he commented on a YouTube video, and then we started talking on Facebook. And he let me know, like, hey, I'm just new in the couch flipping game. This was like July or August of 2022. So he's like,
yeah,
I'm new.
yeah.
And then we started chatting, and he started having some huge months. I think your first month it was up there. Like, when,
Yeah, so July was technically my first month, and then
Mhm,
August was actually a huge month,
mhm.
which was like a massive surprise for us. We were pretty like wow.
Well, what was
um,
that month, if I may ask?
so August we did so July, like just to sort of take it back. So July, our very first month going full time, I think we did like 5.5 or 6K, which
Mhm.
is not too bad.
Solid.
And then August we did, I think it was around 8 or 9.
Mm.
I'll have to have a look, but I think it was around between 8 or 9K. So we were like, okay, this is pretty
Right.
cool.
And
Yeah.
you've had some huge months since. So to start out just doing that, I was like, this guy's the real deal. So we started chatting back and forth, and I found you to be really skilled in the way that you have such high profit margins per couch. And we'll get into that, why you kind of have to do that and be selective on what couches you pick. But before that, I wanted to just talk to you about how'd you even got in the couch flipping game? How'd that come to be? Where you're from? What were you doing for work before? And we can kind of start there. You can go as far back as you want to, and we'll kind of
Yeah.
take it to where you got to that point where you're like, let me try this couch flipping thing. And yeah, we'll just go back and forth.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I guess my story is like before couch flipping and before whatever I was doing before that, I was in the personal training world. So
Mhm.
I had a little bit of experience with running my own business. I did that for about 10 years, and that was, like it was great. Like I absolutely loved it. But at the end of the day, like I was just putting on too many hats as a personal trainer. Like, you're a therapist, basically. You're a personal trainer. You're supposed to be a nutritionist. You're supposed to be, like a marketer, and it's just it all got too much for me in the end there. But I really love that because it gave me a lot of experience in, being able to run my own business and, learn stuff about marketing and like I guess sales,
Mhm.
with couch flipping and that sort of thing. So transferred over a little bit, but anyway, so did that for like 10 years. Kind of needed a break from running my own business. So I just like, and my wife decided to get, like, my partner had just finished uni. So she had just got herself a full-time job. I just decided to get I got a job in insurance doing
Mhm.
sales, which by the way was horrible. If there's anyone listening, don't do that. So I would like I'd sell insurance, and I did for a while there. I was working full time, and then I actually moved to what was called the night shift, which was
Mm.
where I would start at 4 p.m., finish at like 9:30, which isn't like, it's 5.5 hours. It's not too bad, but
Right.
you're calling people who are having dinner and they don't expect your call, and it's just
They're not
not
excited
fun.
to talk to you
No,
at
no,
all.
they're definitely not. So that wasn't very fun. So, but anyway, I'm actually really glad that I did that because the way I got into couch flipping was my old boss.
Mm.
So working in the insurance job. So it was when I was doing full time, and he came up to me and he was like, "Hey man, like check out what I'm doing." And he showed me some pictures of some couches that he was selling. And funny thing is, I laughed. the first
Mhm.
time I heard it. And then he would just like, he kind of just showed me once. And then every now and then he would just show me like a couch that he was selling. And like, this is him just in between his full-time job, just like, before work and after work, just going, picking up these lounges and then just like cleaning them up and selling them. And he's
Right.
like, oh yeah, I just made an extra, $200 or $300. And I was like, what? That's awesome.
Serious money. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, anyway, so like it kind of got me intrigued, and I was like, I might just give this a try. Like, if
Mhm.
it's a new business, you kind of like, it's sometimes you're a bit hesitant because you got to, put up your own money. You got to go and buy a couch,
Right.
or you can get them for free, whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to give this a try. I'm just going to try one just to see if it works,
Mhm.
see what happens. And yeah, my first couch, I ended up getting. I'm trying to remember how much I paid for it. I think I only paid like $100 or something for it. I got it. I got one of those Bissell cleaners. I think everyone knows the Bissell.
Right.
One of those
They do
little.
the job.
They do the job. Yeah,
Get it done.
yeah. And I took way too long to clean it. I think I took like 4.5, 5 hours to clean
Dang.
it.
You're like,
And
this isn't what I was signed up for.
it took me so long. I listed it just like in my garage, and I ended up making like $300 on my first one, like $300
Ooh,
profit.
that's a
Um,
sweet profit, man. On the
yeah.
first one, mine was like, I was like 125, but I was so excited. But
Oh yeah.
300, that's big money. But it
I
was probably
know.
worth it after all that
Yeah.
hard work and dedication.
I was stoked.
Mhm.
So it kind of got me hooked. And then I just like
Mm.
decided, okay, I'm just going to try a few more here and there. And I kind of started to dabble in it. And that's how I kind of got into the couch flipping world. So, um,
Right.
yeah,
Haven't looked back, have you? You don't
no,
miss insurance.
no, definitely not. Yeah.
Well, I know your wife was able to step away as well due to this couch flipping opportunity. At what point were you like, hey, babe, like you can quit your job? Like, how did that come to be?
Yeah. So, I mean, sort of fast forward. So back when I first started, just dabbling in it. So I worked in insurance for about, I think it was around 2 years.
Mhm.
Um, and so that whole time, probably not the full 2 years, probably at least for about 18 months, I would say, or maybe a little bit more. I was sort of dabbling in the couch flipping. So I would try and do flips here and there outside of work. So yeah, so we would just sort of, I guess I was just doing that on the side, just, trying it out, seeing how I go. And I was, starting to get like a bit of a rhythm with it, finding out what works, what sells, what doesn't. I was sort of just testing at that stage.
Right.
And we sort of found a little bit of success there. I wasn't making a huge amount of money. It was just a nice little, side income, which was awesome.
Mhm.
And then, so once my partner started working full time in her job, it wasn't long that we were both just like, we hate this.
Right.
We hate our jobs. It sucks every day. We've all
Yes.
been
That's how it
there.
goes. I mean, that's exactly how I got into couch flipping, is just hating my job and like there's got to be something else out there that
Yeah,
works. And
yeah. I've
same thing
heard
for
your
my
story
partner.
too, man. Yeah.
Yeah. My partner, she stepped away in like probably six in June. It's about or yeah, it's been a while now, but
Yeah.
it's
So
awesome that we can do that. So cool.
so she stepped away last year, June.
Yeah, so she stepped away last year. I'm trying to remember exactly when. I think it was the end of summer, but
Yeah. That was about the same for us. So that's
nice.
pretty cool.
What'd that do
But
for
yeah,
your guys' relationship?
oh, awesome, man. Like before I was doing the night shift. So she would start work at say like 9, work till like 5, and
Mhm.
I would start work at 4, finish at 9:30. So like, we didn't really get to see each other that often. I
Mhm.
was working from home, which was pretty cool for a while there. So I got to work from home, which definitely helped out. So I would still see her, but I was working. Um, but yeah, anyway, so we both hated our jobs. Nothing new there. But so we kind of spoke about it last year at the start of the year that I was at least thinking of leaving my job. And I just remember we were both down, like we, kind of knew what we needed to do catch flipping wise, like to be able to pay our bills and that sort of thing. So we kind of figured out like what's the minimum we need to make, can we do it? And we sort of just umming and ahhing about it. And I just remember we were down in the yard one day and we were just like, fuck it. Let's just
Do
quit
it.
our jobs. And it was so funny because like I'm pretty sure I gave notice like the next day to my boss. I was like,
Dang, decision was made. No looking
decision was
back.
made. Just basically not burn the bridges, but just
Right.
essentially just do it. And anyway, my partner decided to. She gave her notice. It was about a month later, so she finished about a month after that. So that was June. So for me, I finished like end of June last year, and she finished in July. So that's when we first went full time, and we were just like, stuff it, let's just do it. We'll just see what happens. Like, we knew how to couch flip, so we'll just see what happens, and we can put all of our time into it and just see how we go. And it's obviously worked. So
Exactly. That's so amazing.
yeah,
When you made that transition, though, was there a bit of fear or hesitancy of whether you're going to be able to provide for both you guys?
yeah, for sure, man. Like, obviously, like we just bought a house. It's been 18
Beautiful.
months.
No, I'm just call it a house. That's a property, 5 acres, beautiful. Bro
Thanks,
just
man.
added a pool.
Yeah,
Ooh,
fully
love it.
renovated house.
I'm
Yeah,
coming to
so
visit, bro. That's like a 5-star golf course resort.
you're more than welcome, man. You're more than welcome.
I'm coming.
So yeah, so definitely, man, there was fear for sure. Like, because you don't know what's going to happen unless you've got like just massive confidence. But we just decided, like worst case scenario is we give it a crack, and if it doesn't work, like we do have savings to fall back on. So if it doesn't work, we can just go and get another job. Like it's not the end of the world. So, but yeah, there was a bit of fear. So the first month, like I said earlier, I think we did like sort of. This was kind of me doing it. Like my partner hadn't finished yet, so I think I made about 5.5K, and which was respectable. Like that's pretty good. But obviously there was a lot of room to improve. And as we've sort of gone through the months, we've definitely changed our strategy and what we do. And so when I first started, obviously my flips were probably a lot lower margin. And for me, it was like what I'd been doing in the past. I was just used to what I'd been doing in the past whilst I was still working. So like being able to sell something for X amount, I didn't really know if we could go any higher than that. I just didn't have that belief there if it would work. So for us, yeah, it was, the first couple of months was a little scary, but we were paying our bills. It was, we got to spend a lot more time together. And yeah, so we just sort of transitioned as we went and just sort of changed our strategy and just learn. So, and then from learning, I guess from just doing stuff like taking action, that's where that fear starts to go away. You start to build a little bit more confidence in what you're doing, and you can sort of start to aim a little bit higher. So yeah,
That's a beautiful way to put it. Like the action is what creates the confidence, not sitting there and over analyzing and letting the doubts creep in. But I know we both talk about it when we're on our own schedule, self-employed. There's going to be some times where we have some low months and some higher months. So how do you navigate that, being self-employed and being an entrepreneur? Like, how do you get through those times where maybe you don't have the best month?
Yeah, so that's definitely something I struggle with. I know I've told you that before. So like being self-employed, I think it's just accepting. And funny thing is, like, I was self-employed for 10 years. It's a work in progress, but I think it's about just being able to accept that it's going to be up and down. Like, when you work for yourself, it's not a locked-in income. It's not going to be something that's just the exact same number every month like you would at a normal job. And there's a reason for that, because when you work at a normal job, obviously, like I said before, you hate it. It's because they cap you at X amount, whatever your salary is. It's a safety net for a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's obviously a lot of people that do that, but I guess for the people that want a little bit more, is when you're self-employed, you can earn a lot more, and you can still earn a lot less too. It just comes down to your motivation. But I think it's just accepting that it is going to be an up and down sort of journey. It's not going to be just this linear way up. So
Right.
for me, I guess, and for us, sorry, I guess the way we sort of navigate that is just accepting that, you know, if we have a low month, that we can still have, like, the next month can still be a really good month.
Mhm.
And it does come down to the market as well. So like if the market is a little bit slower and we have a, you know, if we have a slow month, like we'll take that into next year and be like, okay, cool. You know, like maybe March, like February, March is a bit slower. It's after Christmas, people have spent a lot of money. And then maybe after that, it'll get a little bit stronger. So for us, we had a really good December, January, which I didn't, because obviously it's the first December, January we've done in couch flipping.
Right.
And I thought it was going to be slow because it's going to be Christmas. People are spending a lot of money, you know what I mean? But we actually had our 2 biggest months. So it's.
Well, may I ask, what were those months? Because I know they were nice months, man. You guys were crushing it. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah. So December was our first 10K month. We
Let's
just cracked
go.
it. Yeah. And January was a 10K month as well. So
Oh, nice.
I think for us, once we did that, we sort of, you know, we got a little bit more belief in ourselves, and we were just like, okay, cool. Like 10K is like the standard that we want to aim for now. Like it's doable, and we can sort of aim, like, if we can aim for that to be our minimum, then we can go a little bit higher, or if it's a little bit less, it's still fine, but at least, you know, it's a really great number. So we were stoked
For
with that.
sure. That's a sweet number. I know we talk about it often. Like when you clear a 10K, you feel good, you know.
Yeah.
And it puts, yeah, it's awesome. And it builds confidence, being able to have evidence that you can do it. Like that was the same thing for me as well. First time I've even hit 8K, I was like, damn, this is possible, you know, because I looked at 6-figure incomes as like trillionaire status for a long time, just from where I'm from. So
Yeah.
dude, that's so awesome. But the crazy thing is that I learned meeting you is December and January is actually summertime months for you, huh? It's like sun's out.
Yeah. Summer. So
Because I was like, that blew my mind. Like I didn't pay attention back in school too much. So I don't know how many people watching you guys knew that. But since, you said you changed up your strategy and obviously things started to work as time goes on with your experience. So what was some of the shifts you made to start getting to that 10K months and whatnot?
Yeah, so it's actually funny. It was actually my wife's idea. So
They always have the best ideas.
it's just up to us to listen.
Right. It's fast.
But yeah, so when we first started, when we had a good month in our second month, like we didn't really know why. I think it's just because we were just doing quite a lot of numbers in terms of volume, which helped out. But for us, just to sort of let everyone know why, and you kind of mentioned this earlier, I think, but for us, we do live in like a bit of a small country town now. So whereas before we were in more like densely populated area. So Sunshine Coast is where we used to be. It's near the beach. There's a lot more people. Whereas where we are now, it's like an hour away. It's more, I guess it's the population here is probably like more older people. There's no deals here. There's just nothing. Like, I mean, it's just like old people couches.
Yeah.
And it's like they're not going to sell. I
Mm-mm.
mean, you can probably take them to the dumps.
Right. Those funky patterns.
Yeah. So we kind of just realized there's nothing here. So we're going to have to drive. We're going to have to put in some hours, which was fine. But what we were doing is, excuse me. So what we were doing is our margins were a lot lower. So I think they were probably around 300 to 400 per couch was like the average. And by the time we put in the hours, right? So like if we were to drive, like for us, it's an hour to Sunshine Coast, an hour back. You might spend 2 hours cleaning the couch, and then you may have to deliver that couch as well. So that's kind of like a minimum of 6 hours there. Not to mention there's other little things that you might do too. So yeah, so for us, if we put in all this time and we're still only making, like what's equivalent to like maybe $30 an hour, which is, it's not horrible, but that's what we were making probably beforehand. So at our old job. So for us, the strategy change was actually just, I remember my wife saying it. And so it's funny when we talk about it, she's like, oh, you'll listen to Dante, but you won't listen to me.
Oh,
until,
what's
until
her
she,
name? What's her...
Leonie.
Oh, tell her that yes, you are going to start listening to her more because she knows what she's doing with these
Does.
numbers.
It's
Yeah.
funny because she's always worked a traditional job and she's never done her own business stuff before. So it's actually really cool that this was her idea, sort of thing, and to push for this. So anyway, the strategy change was, she said to me, why don't we just spend more on couches and aim to like make more, like just spend more on a couch and just aim to like make a lot more on that couch, and that way we don't have to do as many couches. And it was just a simple sentence as that. And from there, it was just literally just trying to test it out, because I didn't really think it was possible for some things. So like a particular couch that I know 100% will sell for, say, $800 or $900 is like a really low point in our market. So if we were to pick that up for, say, like 300 or 400, I would be like, okay, I don't think that couch could sell for any more than 800 or 900. And she was like, why don't you just put 1,200 on it and see what happens? And so that's what we did. We just started testing and started to work, so
Right.
we started to make a little bit more on our margins. So from there, we just started to change our strategy in the sense of we look for, so like a high quality brand. So like in our market, we'll look for like the retailers that we know are like a high quality brand. So something that's more luxury, you could say, things that sell for a lot more. So the retail might be like $3,000 or $4,000 for something like that. And we just look for those brands because we know they're high quality. So that was kind of number one, is we look for a high quality brand, and we look for a high retail price. And then from there, it's just obviously scanning marketplace to see, okay, well, what's out there? Like, what are these brands selling for on marketplace? And if we can see this, I've said this to you before, a really simple equation that we sort of go by is, so half of retail. So if we see, something that fits the criteria, so for us, it's got to be a neutral color. So obviously grays sell really well. Grays, beige, maybe a navy blue, but mainly grays. Grays and beiges, they're really neutral and really popular. So we'll just look for that. We look for like a particular shape. So it's usually like the larger modulars. Sometimes it's a 3-seater with a chase, but it's usually the larger couches. And so we look for those and we just see, okay, how much is it selling for? What's half of retail? And is there a big enough margin that we're happy with? So for us now, kind of like the minimum margin we look for is $1,000. So 1K. So as an example, if we see something on marketplace that is selling for, say, 500, or at least we know we can get it for 500. If the retail is 3,000, we know we can sell it for probably at least 1,500. There's our 1,000 margin. So yeah, that was the strategy change, and we've sort of tweaked it along the way. But yeah, that's generally what we look for, and the reason why we have to do that is because we have to put a lot of time in. So we have to drive quite a few hours to get this from where we are. So now sometimes we can, per couch, we can put in like 10 hours per couch because of all the driving. So we want to make it worth it. So that's why we've sort of steered towards that high margin strategy. So yeah.
Well, first, shout out to your wife, because that is something in the couch game is pretty rare. Like, there's not many people I know of. You're probably the top guy I know that gets these like $1,000 margin couches, or anytime you tell me you have a sale, it's always over 500. So it's inspiring because it's like that next level of couch flipping. But also, like you said, you got to be willing to spend more on the couch. So there's probably a little bit of a fear barrier to overcome. And people got to have enough cash on hand to buy these couches, but that's all about planning accordingly and just implementing that strategy. But that's amazing.
Yeah, man. It's just, I mean, like you said, there's a bit of fear to spending more. So like, I mean, I know, there's definitely two ways to do it. Like I've seen a lot in the group that where there's volume, like you said, like you do a lot of volume, and then there's other guys that have the higher margins as well. And it has its place. So like for us, we just can't do the higher volume and lower margin, just from where we are. So we were just forced into that higher margin. Otherwise, we're just not going to be making as much. We're putting all this time in and not making as much. So that's just why we went that route. But so you have to spend more to make more. So, I mean, I don't know how much you go up to in terms of spending. But I know for us, we sort of go up to like $1,000. That's kind of like, that's kind of like the limit of what we'll spend. If we know 100% we can make close to 1,000 on it. So, but
I know there's some conversations we've had where you're like, Dante, I got like $6,000 out right now in couches. Like, and it takes a certain mentality to be able to handle that. So, kudos to you and like respect to that. Like that's next level. So those people watching, maybe you're doing volume and you haven't quite yet switched over to, the high profit margin game. Just know there's two sides, and I strike the balance between both, I think, but it's awesome to see what changed for you guys out of necessity, almost, of like not wasting time and maximizing your time. So that's amazing. But almost 1 year complete, I feel like that's just the rookie year where you're like kind of building momentum, building the habits. And what do you see for year 2, or what's your kind of goals for couch flipping? Is it going to be something that's your main income, or are you going to phase out and make it like a side hustle while you work on other things, or what's your vision?
So I mean, for us, coming up to 12 months now, I think we're on track. We're pretty close on track to hit 6 figures, which is pretty cool. First year.
That's awesome, man.
Thanks, man. But there's definitely a lot of room to grow. So like for us, I think the vision is we'd love to have our own brand of couch. I know I've spoke to you about this before. Having our own brand would be really cool. So being able to launch something that's, from at least only 12 months of experience, being able to launch something that we know the market's going to really enjoy, really like. So like we know what sells, what doesn't sell. We know the colors, we know the fabrics, we know the style, design, and that sort of thing. So being able to launch something of our own brand, I think, is the vision for year 2. It's just making it happen. And I can see us, so I can see us sort of really taking off from there and sort of phasing out a lot of the stuff that we don't want to do. So like the cleaning and all that sort of stuff. And but I think that's the vision for us is being able to launch our own brand. So we're going to try and make that happen in year 2. So
for sure. I know you guys are like, I don't know if there's is there competition where you're at or that you see of?
So I mean, there is. There's not a huge amount of competition, but it's funny. I do know a few of the competitors locally. Really funny story with competitors. I know even for you too, you've probably spoken to a lot of your competitors in your market as well. They're probably in the Facebook group, I would say.
Yeah. We're friends.
Yeah.
Hey, don't step on my market, man. That's fine.
But there's one girl. There's a couple of girls that do the same thing, and
nice.
And there's, like I said to you, like our strategy is sort of that higher margin, and you can tell with our listings, obviously by price and staging that we do as well. So, but there's a few other people that do the exact same thing. So they do the higher ticket stuff. And the same sort of staging. It's a lot higher quality. And it's funny because my old boss that got me into it, he was a volume guy, and all he would used to say is, I just want to make $200 or $300 per couch, and he would just smash them out. And I sort of I see his listings all the time now, and I see like a lot of the lower volume. And because obviously he's still working at the other job, so he still does what he does. This is still a side thing for him. But I've started to notice he's started to transition to those higher margins, and it's very similar stuff to what we do now. So
Mhm.
I'm sure he's caught on. But in terms of competition, there's one girl I actually remember. We're good friends now. We talk all the time, and
Mhm.
it's really cool because she'll send me listings if she can't get something, and we do the same for her. So,
Mhm.
but I remember seeing one of her listings, and she had used the exact same description as me, like literally copy paste. It was like
Right.
everything was copy paste, and I kept seeing these pop up, and it was the exact same as mine. I'm like, okay, what's
Mhm.
going on here? But she actually reached out to me and noticed that I was doing flipping, and yeah, we've become good friends now. So, but there's not too much competition. It's nothing for us to worry about. So,
Right.
yeah,
Especially if you guys get your own brand and whatnot. But that's cool. You're friends with them. That's kind of how it is in my market too. Like you learn to become allies and work
yeah,
together in some ways. But
exactly.
I'm one of those guys or gals copying your description as well. I remember after hearing, I think it was after your back-to-back huge months, I was like, Kai, can I like copy some of your descriptions? You're like, yeah. And I just loved how you kept it so simple and straightforward. And I still use
Yeah,
your titles to this day. I just like your style. It's just solid. Obviously, it works. So,
yeah, yeah. Short and simple is kind of
mhm.
like what we go for there. So,
Right. In the
yeah,
photos in your staging spot, just excellent. I'll throw some photos up for you guys to see kind of his style, but just amazing. But
thanks, man.
outside of couch flipping stuff, I wanted to ask more of like, because I know we talk periodically about personal goals and stuff of things of like trying to add new habits, whether that's working out daily, whether that's taking a break from alcohol for 90 days, 6 months. Like, what are some things, personal habits that you think help you show up as a good couch flipper?
Yeah, I mean, habits. So yeah, obviously fitness is one. So like your
Mhm.
health and fitness is definitely one. So for me, being, used to be a personal trainer, I do have quite a lot of injuries now. I will say that. So I sort of struggle with this, but training is so important anyway, just for your mental health.
Mhm.
I found at least. So, getting in and exercising and training, that's a big one. I would do like breathing techniques. So
Mhm.
like Wim Hof breathing. A lot of people have probably heard of that before.
What
Um,
is that? You said,
Wim
sorry.
Hof. Have you
Oh,
not heard of
Wim
that?
Hof.
Wim Hof?
Is that the guy with the frozen guy that's always in some,
Yeah.
icy waters?
Yeah. So
I don't know his technique, but I know the guy. He's crazy, dude.
yeah, so it's cold water therapy. So it's just like ice bath. And he does a
Oh, I
breathing
see.
technique as well, which is really cool. So it's just like, yeah, it's a type of breathing you do for like 10 minutes, and it's supposed to, give you a lot of benefits for your health and mindset. So that's something I've tried in the past as well.
Mhm.
Um, Other habits, I'm trying to think of anything else that I do.
I mean, those
Oh
are
yeah,
two strong ones, but go ahead.
the no alcohol thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember telling you about that. So I did last year. I did 90 days,
Mhm.
no alcohol, and then this year I think I've done the same thing. And just recently I did 2 months without as
Mhm.
well. Um, and yeah, it definitely does help. So like for me, I've taken out caffeine. I just do decaf. There's still a little bit of caffeine in there, but not very much. So just sort of taking out caffeine, taking out alcohol as much as possible.
Mhm.
Um, just keeping really clean with everything. So just exercising, eating well.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, those are some habits that I think would help quite a lot. But
Right.
other than that, more than anything, I think it's just, just staying focused on your goals, like what you want to achieve, and
Mhm.
if there's other things in your life that are getting in the way of it, just get rid of them. That's simple as that.
Mhm. That was probably the best way to put it. Like, I did not ask you that question so that everybody starts doing like breathing techniques and working out daily, even though that will help. But I think what you said is best. Like, ultimately what habits are going to get you to your goals. And that's for all of us to figure out ourselves, or what things are taking us off track to getting to those goals and removing them. So I know that's, we talk often on stuff like that, mindset. And I think a lot of that goes into how we approach the couch flipping game, is just who we are. How's our mindset? And those are subtle things that are kind of hard to spot, but they make all the difference, you know.
I've noticed you've been doing a lot of training like as of late.
Yeah, brother, just getting in there trying to get like you, trying to get like your YouTube profile.
It's been a while since I've looked like that, so I should probably update.
Yeah, no, but I noticed the biggest thing with training is just getting the mentality right. Like the self-talk for me has been changing, of knowing that I'm somebody that pushes. I'm somebody who's relentless, you know, doesn't hold back, undeniable, champ, winners. And it just spills through, because when you push yourself, whether it's fitness, whether it's waking up early, something that's hard for you, and you push past it, you get some sort of confidence, and makes you stack your wins and believe in yourself more. So that's why I do it. So I'm definitely on board with what you said about exercising or training daily, or as many times as you can a week. It makes a big difference for sure.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, is there anything I was going to ask you one question. What do you love about the couch flipping game so far?
Yeah, so that's I think the thing I love the most about it, like for us at least, is the amount of hours we need to put in for the return.
Mm-hmm.
It's I've said this to you before, like for us, I think I worked out it feels like more, but I guess when you average it out, we actually don't work very much. Like when you compare it to a full-time job where you're working 38 hours a week,
Right.
I think for us, like everything I've tracked so far, we average 15 to 20 hours a week, like, which is insane. So for us, we just get to like, you know, we get to wake up when we want to wake up. You know, we both don't have to go to a job. Like work is driving in the car, like most of the time. So we just get to chill, go on road trips and get couches, and, you know, it's pretty cool. So I guess, yeah, that's the thing we love about it the most, is the amount of free time that we have, and, you know, for what we get in return. So it's awesome. Yeah. What about you, man?
I would say just that, like the freedom, the ability to wake up when you want, I guess go to bed when you want, and have no restraints of a job. Like anytime I was at a job, I was just like, had so much negative emotion built up, because I was like, I know I'm better than this. Like I remember writing on so many index cards, so many pieces of paper, like, I, Dante Fernandez, have my own schedule, in business for myself, making 8K a month. It took me, I wrote that down for like 2 years before it actually like came to fruition. But
That's so cool.
it's just the opposite of a job, man. I just couldn't handle somebody else telling me when to show up, when I could go visit somebody like Kai in Australia. Like I want to be able to look in the mirror and say, Dante, do you want to go visit him? Go do it, boss.
Yeah.
You know, what is the biggest challenge with couch flipping, you think?
So the biggest challenge I've noticed is inventory. So I think a lot of people will agree with this. So like we know what works. We know what we want. I've said this to my competitor, my friend Lana, and I was saying to her the other week that if I can just have this type of couch just on tap,
Right.
just I'll spend $1,000 on this couch and I will buy as many as I can, because I know how much it'll make me. So I guess the biggest challenge is just it's what's available on marketplace, and it's what the market is giving you. So like if there's no couches that sort of fit that criteria, or if there's no good couches, there's no couches. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge for us is the inventory, which is why I think if we go down the route of, you know, like having our own brand, we can just, you know, order as much as we want. So yeah, I think that would be the biggest challenge for us, at least. So
Right.
I'm not sure about you guys and your market over there though, but
Mhm. I mean, I think that's a challenge for most people. Yeah, inventory and finding those good winners. Is there anything you would share to somebody that wants to get started couch flipping?
yeah, so exact same as what I did when I started is like, if you've been thinking about it, just do one. Just test it, just see how it goes. Like just do one.
Mhm.
Like, and there's so many ways you can do it. Like you can start this for free. Like
For sure.
the funny thing is you don't need anything to start. You
Right.
actually you don't even need a trailer, or a van or anything. Like you don't need a cleaner, you don't need any money. Like you can literally find one on marketplace for free. And that's what I did when I started, is like I looked for stuff that was for free or like $50.
Mhm.
So and when I first started, the funny thing is, I don't know if you've heard this before, is like I learned this off my boss, is like he would use a gurney to clean them. He would take them to the car wash in
Mm.
his trailer and he would gurney the couch and just let
Just
it
spray it
dry.
down.
Just yeah, just and just let it dry. Like
Hey, that's not a bad idea for those stinky dog couches. And just
yeah,
you don't want to touch them,
exactly. So yeah, so
hose
if you
them
think
down.
yeah, quite literally. So that's how I started as well. Like that's all I did. So
Mm.
looking back, like we've changed a lot of things, but just try one, see how you go. Like you can literally even hire a van or you know, or a truck or something. I know you can hire like a trailer or something to go and get it,
Mhm.
and just give it a crack and see what happens. And you know, if you make some money, awesome. If you don't, just learn from it and try another, and
Right.
just get started and see how you go, and just go from there.
For sure. Free couch, you can't lose. Nothing to lose.
Exactly. There's only
Mhm.
upside, apart from if you get one and then it's absolutely terrible and you got to take it to the dump and then pay for that. So
Oh, that's true. That's true. You can't get any free couch. Just know that.
yeah,
Got to be in decent condition.
exactly.
Well, that's a good. That was good to add in there. Is there any last words, Kyle? I think this has been a solid. I don't even know how long it's been. I've been locked in.
I don't know. Yeah, man. Like, appreciate you having me on. It's awesome to chat with you today, because
Mhm.
coming from 12 months ago, just literally commenting on a video, and you reached out to me, and obviously, like, you know, join the group and stuff. But it's really cool to be able to connect with someone on the other side of the world that's doing the same thing. And you've given me a lot of inspiration, man. So I just want to say
Mhm.
thank you and I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate coming on and sharing some knowledge. So
Thank
cheers.
you, Kai, man. Cheers to you, brother.